And we're live. Right. Welcome back to the New Year edition of Keane Talks United. This was meant to be a stream this Friday talking about the FA Cup and Brighton and can Ruben Amorim win a trophy. Well, thanks be to Lord Jesus Christ, Ruben Amorim has been sacked Manchester United manager. So that's completely thrown my plans for this stream completely out the window, first of all. And second of all, it's brought me back to lockdown to when I first started the channel and back into dreamland. So it's good to be back and joined by a very good friend, Julio from Red Bull Review as well. Obviously here today to talk about the sacking of Ruben Amorim and also the big elephant in the room that's potentially Ollie back at the wheel as well. So we're going to talk about that. We'll also talk about prospective new managers in the summer as well. So do smash the like the video, do subscribe, and yeah, look, really do appreciate people's support when we do drop videos. I know we haven't dropped them as much this season, but we will be looking to get some more out in the new year, especially now with this new potential manager coming in. But Julio, Ruben Amorim, we talked about him early on in the season after Grimsby, and two of us were like antichrists. Fast forward, he's had a good run. He had a decent run, won at Anfield. Fast forward months later, after getting manager of the month, he's now the latest casualty in the Premier League, getting sacked. What do you make of the sacking? Do you think it's a long time coming? Do you think, was it too soon? Was it too knee-jerk from Ineos? What do you make of the whole situation?
I'm a bit I'm in two minds about it, in the sense of, if we got to Christmas and I thought the time to have got rid of him probably would have gone. So I thought he would, Ineos, unless it went really badly, I thought the board would have actually let him go on to the end of the season and then move him on. I think that I did a video after the Grimsby game on my channel, and I said that I didn't see him surviving that, because it was that bad to I just didn't think he could come back from it. And I think I'm going to be honest, like, I don't care what anyone says, like, whether you want to talk about breakdown in relations, boardroom clashes, or whatever. The writing has been on the wall for a long time. You know, the if we're being perfectly honest, he just wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough from a multitude of reasons. I don't think his ceiling was very high. I think he looked like a manager who needed 101 things to align perfectly just to look competent. And United is not a football club where you can survive on if, maybe, and maybe wait until it clicks. It just wasn't. It wasn't even like one bad result. It was the lack of anything good repeatable. You know, every week we were pretty much saying no control, no consistent build up, no consistent press. You know, players were looking like square pegs a lot. And, you know, I think the ego and the stubbornness was quite a problem. The way he wedded to his system because he staked his reputation on it. People do this when things aren't going so well, and they stake everything and on the one thing that brought them to that place, and they will stick to it stubbornly rather than tactically adapt and show any kind of flexibility or tactical acumen. And that's what he did. And there were just so many issues about it. And I think this kind of thing, it's not evolution, it's just survival mode. And in this league, it doesn't forgive that. You know, the systems can get worked out very quickly. And I think if you're so one-dimensional, you're getting found out so soon. And when you do change it and show any kind of adaptation, to then prove a point, you go back to what you already knew. I mean, I will say that it's not just his fault. I think Ruben Amorim failed Manchester United, but I also think the board failed him, because I've always said that it was stupid and naive to hire a manager with a niche profile, a niche system, sorry, that required specialist profiles, you know, and then to try and, you know, to promise to bankroll this across 3 years, you know, multiple transfer windows, And then when he's been there a year and he says, "Oh, I need 11 new players," pretty much, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that he, as a manager, was too limited to, use what, because for me, I've always said management 101 is using what you've got and trying to platform it as best as you can. That's not to suggest abandon, because you can tactically adjust, adapt, and tweak without abandoning principles. And I think that's something that a lot of fans have forgotten with the last two managers we've had. And I think when you look at the results, it's just not good enough. And I think whether you want to read into his comments yesterday as back me or sack me, like, my brother, you've got what, 14, 15 wins in 14 months. You are not in a position to be making these kind of threatening chats. So I think it's best for everyone he's gone, the players, the fans. Um, I, I think for the fans, it's so nice now that, because the fan base has gotten very toxic about it, and it's quite frustrating because my criticism of it has been on evidence, based on things that I'm seeing, results. Whereas the defense for him was very much on hope, hypotheticals, vibes, and there was a lot
Mm.
of blind faith where it got so toxic that you'd be gaslit into being made to look as if you're a fake fan for questioning this manager. But then, but not just that, also I was seeing fans say things like, "Oh, Kobe Manu was never that good anyway. Why is everyone screaming about him as the answer?" And I'm like, I'm sorry, what are we doing here? What are we
Yeah,
doing here? We saw the way that I called it a suicidal system that Ten Hag played, and the way this kid held his own with a midfield that had too much of a gap between the attack and the defense, and the way he held his own in that midfield, and a Casemiro who apparently had his legs gone. I'm sorry, but I'm not having this nonsense that he was never talented. So I think it's so good. I'm really intrigued to see how the blind Amorim faithfuls really respond to, obviously, what happens now in the future with the next manager, because I think I don't think you can blindly back a manager to that extent, to the point. And we do this with every manager. Fans back the manager if there's something with a player or whatever. I think it's quite, fans will back the manager to the detriment of any player. We saw this with Ahmad or Alvaro Carreras under Ten Hag. We saw Ten
mm.
Hag loan Alvaro Carreras, and we were seeing Lindelof left back shifts, and we were saying,
Lindelof
yeah,
and Amrabat were both
and
playing
we were,
left back. Yeah,
but guys, he's the manager. He sees him. Maybe he doesn't like the way he trains, and then the manager leaves after picking Omar Forson repeatedly over him, and we realize, oh damn, maybe Ten Hag didn't like this kid. Maybe Ten Hag was wrong.
mm.
So I'm just kind of done with this whole, I'm going to blind the manager back blindly back him because it's the right thing to do at discourse and at any kind of detriment. It's not good. I don't know where people see that and think that's the answer. It's not an agenda against the manager for the manager. It's an agenda for the football club you support.
Yeah. Like, look, I think there's a couple of things. I think Amram was way too stubborn in picking the same 3-4-3. I think what killed him, especially in the last month, is when he reverted to a back four and we actually played better football, and we had much better performances. Then he reverted to a back three and went back to type, and I think that's where, for me, he hampered himself. And then not only that, then as well, kind of infighting with the board then as well, and then being as public with it, like, fucking hell, you're not Jose Mourinho. Like, when Jose Mourinho could be public because he had the medals, he had the trophies to back it up, or if Van Gaal went public, he'd have the trophies to back it up, whereas Amram doesn't. And like, when it's over 12 months of failure, you have to say, like, it's completely his fault why he's getting sacked. Now, you can talk about players, and you can talk about he doesn't have this player or that player. He has a full squad of internationals, and he should be doing better than 15th place. He should be doing better than getting knocked out by Grimsby in the League Cup. He should be doing better than all these things, you know. And I think from that point of view, like, Ruben Amorim just needs to take, I think, major accountability for his failings. Like, look, like the way Ollie, I know we're going to speak about him in a minute, but Ollie had to take failing for his accountability for his failures. So when he lost the Europa League final, when Joe Ralph Rangnick Joe was failing as well, we wanted him to take accountability. So, like, I think the thing about with the fan base in this last 12 months is, and look, I've been guilty of it as well at times. And look, I'm on YouTube and I'm man enough to admit it. There was times where I was trying to see the good in the manager because I seen good things in the Europa League campaign when I was there physically in the stadium. But long term, look, it was horse shit for 12 months. Lads, the comments been flooding in. It's my first video in about fucking 5 months, and the comments been flying in. I fucking love this. We're going to get to a couple of questions as well. Sean said, after official talks with Ollie, who's the perfect backroom team? I'd love to see Roy Keane apart with Roy Keane, obviously. Well, with my football manager campaign, I wouldn't recommend hiring me either. It took me a very long time to get in one season to get United into the Champions League place. I got there in the last 6 games, so I wouldn't want me part of it either, to be honest, especially if we're trying to fight for fourth. And then Ricky says he wants Unai Emery in the summer. That's, you're talking my language there. And then a couple other comments as well. Sean says it's not down to results, it's down to relationships, the hierarchy. Come on, I think you have to say it's while the relationship broke down towards the end of Ruben Amorim's tenure, I think you have to say it is results business. Based on results, he should have been
That's
sacked.
always the final killer, though.
Yeah.
Relationships with the hierarchy is always the final killer with any manager, regardless. I do agree that obviously the breakdown in relationship was kind of the final nail in the coffin, and it speed around this whole process of sacking the manager, because like I said prior, I genuinely thought he would actually last till the end of the season, because I thought if he'd have gone, it would have been pre-Christmas. Because he survived Christmas, I thought they're not going to do it now in January, and then you're over halfway through the season, so they'll see it out, and unless it got really bad, and then they'd look towards bringing someone in the summer.
Yeah, 100%. I thought, like, look, the timing of it a bit sketchy, considering the players have gone to AFCON and stuff, doing that type of way. I think you probably could have done it maybe a bit sooner when, results started to nosedive. But I think, look, again, this board, like, even with the new board, I think they're making kind of decisions even outside of the football side of the club, where I'm like, it's kind of scattergun. I think that's the word we've used on this channel and the previous iteration of the channel plenty of times.
This board will have a lot to answer for now.
Oh yeah.
I said Reese in the chat, he'll remember this, just before we hired Amorim. I said that the board can't afford to get this appointment wrong. And the fact that they got it so badly wrong, and they wedded their reputations to it by letting it go, because I was very uncertain after the Europa League final. Then when I was there like, I don't think this is going to be successful. And, I still had people telling me, oh, he needs a preseason or whatever. And then the same people waited 2 games into the season to flip-flop. And I said they cannot afford to get this big appointment wrong. Now that they've got it wrong, all of their reputations are on the line. I guarantee it. The fact that, and what makes it worse is obviously Ashworth. The fact that Ashworth said no to this appointment, which, to be fair, Wilcox apparently said no to this appointment as well. But
why is that only coming out now, though? Because, like, Wilcox,
I don't know. It might have been said then. I just can't remember. But
I think it's horseshit. Can I be honest, Julio?
It could be.
Can I be honest with you? I think it's horseshit from Ineos. If you look at the way they've been briefing the media in the last 12 months, I think it's complete horseshit. Now, all of a sudden, Jason Wilcox was opposed to the Ruben Amorim appointment, when all that's been briefed in the last 12 months is Wilcox and Amorim have a very good working relationship. Wilcox and Amorim are working on the future of Man United.
But
even the club, right?
Wilcox didn't have as much power, though. That's what I mean. Wilcox has not since stepped up.
No, but hold on. Even in the last 12 months, through club media, through MUTV and stuff like that, Wilcox has been on the fucking glorifying Ruben Amorim tour as well. So 100%.
Parading after 3 in a row.
After 3 in a row. So this is what I'm saying to you. I would not believe the brief from the club that all of a sudden Jason Wilcox didn't want Ruben Amorim when he's been doing nothing but praising Ruben Amorim. He's been pictured, videoed, getting along with Ruben Amorim. Now, if I put it this way to you, if I didn't want someone to work, let's say if I was owner of Man United, well, thank God I'm not, but let's say I was, and I didn't want a certain individual working there, like a manager, You wouldn't be going around glorifying him then in the media, would you?
I don't know. If it makes him look good, of course he will. It's a win-win for him. If it goes wrong, well, I wasn't in power, so I didn't want him anyway. It was, I think, Barada was the one who actually pushed the appointment in the first place. But that's not to say Wilcox didn't have any kind of say of any kind. But then, at the same time, if Amorim looks good, of course he's going to be out there parading about how patient they were when he wins 3 games in a row, like any other manager should be doing. It all reeks a little bit, but I think the good thing is I'm actually quite impressed with how a lot of the fans are actually quite calm, but in the sense, with the board, but in the sense of like their reputations are on the line. They need to be looked at because they can't keep hiring the wrong people, and the fact that they let it go on for so long, their reputations were on that as much as in a similar fashion to Amorim and his system. They were all wedded together in one big pile of crap, and it doesn't look favorably on any of them. Now, do I trust them to oversee the next recruitment process? I honestly can't say at this moment in time. And I think that the more names come out, the more moves that are made, I think it'll be whatever Ineos PR that's going to come out as a result of this will be very telling. But I think who they go for next will be very telling, whether they're serious or not about this club winning by 2028. Because the one thing I said on Twitter the other day, actually, was Barada had this, we're going to win the league in 2028. But you can't fail for the first 2 years and hope to recover in the last 2. And that's not only did that look like a prediction, but that looks like it's genuinely happening. We have wasted enough time as it is.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to.
I think recover it.
Yeah, I think the 2028. Even when they said it at the time, was like with the way the club has been ran, and they said that while we're 15th, that looked like a pipe dream in their eyes. But look, who knows? Football can't switch because Arsenal went from like 5th to a title race, so it can happen. You just have to recruit astutely and get the right manager in. It can happen. I'm not saying it will, but it can, because Arsenal went from 5th to 2nd quite quickly. Look, everyone knows my feelings on Arteta. I don't think he'd get Arsenal over the line, but and I know Shane will probably be in the comments. Shane Gunnar will be in the comments here somewhere, and he'll probably agree with that. But like, look, Arsenal proved it can be done. So I think, like, look, I don't think we'll win that, I don't think we'll win the league by 2028. But it's not out of the realms of possibility, because anything can happen in football. Like Sean says here, the last few games we've been 7 first-team players, so essentially it's Man United B. You have to look at the other games. So you have to look at the draw against Everton with a full team. Sorry, was it a loss? We lost against Everton. It was a draw at West Ham, weren't it? Yeah, we lost against Everton against 10 men with a full team. We drew to West Ham, who are fucking dog shit, at Old Trafford. We drew at Nottingham Forest, who are also dog shit. We lost to Brentford, who actually are a good team, but Keith Andrews was a set-piece coach for Ireland before he got the Brentford job. So that's fucking embarrassing. We won at Anfield, but who wasn't beating Liverpool in around that time? Like, you have to look at things in context, lads. And I think in context, Ruben Amorim hasn't been doing that well this season. To see it for what it is. And I think, look, he needs to go. Even if you don't want to take out this season, go last season. He finished 15th at the table. He gave Tottenham their first trophy since 2008. And that's Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham. Like, Steve, my friend Steve, would come into the comments and tell you Ange needed to go. Like, there's multitudes of reasons why Ruben Amorim should have got sacked. And he got sacked too late, in my opinion. But look, the thing about it is, though, he's now gone, right? He's yesterday's news at this point now. And then we move on to, obviously, Darren Fletcher is going to take over for the Burnley game tomorrow. And his press conference was literally done just before we recorded. So I'm not going to get any quotes from the press conference. If anyone does have any quotes in the press conference, they can pull them from Twitter from me. We can discuss what he was talking about, but we're not going to talk about it briefly while we're here. But, like, obviously, we've been linked with a multitude of interim managers, and mostly former players from the club. We've been linked to Michael Carrick. We've been linked with Ruud van Nistelrooy. And then, obviously, the biggest link at the minute, and who looks like to be the favourite to get the interim manager's job, it should be a spoiler by the time of this video, is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. looks like potentially Ollie could be back at the wheel. Call for every manager to be sacked. You haven't got a clue. Cloud Chaser, Goldbridge wannabe. I think if you go back to the previous videos on this channel, especially at the start of the season, I was talking about Ruben Amorim getting a chance, and I think he might get Champions League this year with the signings. So yeah, that wasn't clout chasing. But results happen over a season. He has to get sacked. But look, I appreciate your comment and your opinion. But back onto it anyway, Julio. Obviously, looks like Ollie could be coming in for a second stint as interim manager, potentially with the likes of Darren Fletcher and Johnny Evans being the assistant managers to him. Now, obviously, nothing has been finalised yet in terms of if will he or won't he. What do you make of him coming in as interim manager, considering, I suppose, first of all, it's a completely different squad to what he would have had 4 years ago. And secondly, it's different ownership. Well, technically the Glazers are still here, but it's a different footballing structure that's at the club. What do you make of the potential appointment, first of all, and then also, how do you think it's going to go? Will you look at the squad and you look at, I suppose, himself and maybe the potential coaching staff that he may have?
I think firstly, I don't think an interim is a bad idea. I think having Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back in an interim is not the worst thing in the world. I think it's an ex-player who's done it before as well. You know, I think the board have to make it crystal clear that it can only be on an interim basis. None of this, we're going to let him talk himself into a job because we went on a mad 13-game unbeaten run, which, to be fair, I have always said it's not just new manager bounce. It is down to him in some format. There is something to do with Ollie and how good that run was, because it was not a very good team, if I'm being honest, and it shouldn't have won as many games as it did in a row. Excuse me. I think it will be interesting this time around because it's because of the fact that the coaches he had then aren't here anymore. Now, he might bring Carrick back with him, but McKenna was a very big part, and McKenna was a very good young coach.
McKenna was the defensive coach at the time, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah. And I think with that, I mean, I've already tweeted today that if I was Solskjaer, I would give Rennie Mullenstein a call. I think he'd be and in fact, Rennie was someone I would have liked to have brought in when it was going wrong at the end of the last tenure, to be honest. I thought Rennie might have added something to help sort out what was wrong at the time in terms of the pressing structure, in terms of the, I mean, I don't want to talk much about how bad it had gone because it was a very bad time. I don't really want to think about that anymore, but I think it's the right thing to do. Going for an ex-player. I think this football club, has a history of going for ex-players in interim, makes everyone feel good for a few games. And I think for what Ollie can do and for what his credentials are or are not, I think I don't see why he can't get top four now. I think one thing I praised about him from his tenure was the fact that he took players, worked with what he had, and tried to get as best results as he could out of them. Like, there was no way he should have finished second and third with Fred and McTominay playing every week. Especially since I know Bruno did very well in that period, but before Bruno Fernandes came in, when the Ollie Out Brigade was singing strong, like away to, like at home to Burnley at that defeat, we were having to play Andreas Pereira or a severely out of form Jesse Lingard for creativity in midfield.
Not to mention Mata had to be right wing when he was number 10 as well at the time.
Exactly. So it was very much there was not a lot of good players then. I think the squad he left was significantly greater than what he came into. I think the squad now, I mean, Lord knows his 2021 team could have done with a lot of the players handpicked now as an upgrade for back then. But I think defensively and even in goal, actually, I think the quality of players are greater.
I think in some positions, we're better off. I think goalkeeper we are because De Gea was on the decline. I'd argue maybe
Yeah.
Dean Henderson is probably better than Lamens, but he only had a short sample size under Ollie. I think Henderson's probably better, but we didn't see Crystal Palace Henderson under Ollie, if you get me. I think Luke Shaw probably isn't a better version of Luke Shaw. I think De Ligt and Martinez are better than the version of Lindelof and Maguire we had. I don't think Dalot is better than Wan-Bissaka, but I think Mazraoui could be. So I suppose jury's out. I think if you go Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo, I think that's better than the version of Fred and McTominay that we had. I think Bruno's more well-rounded now than he was when he played under Ollie, but he was so productive under Ollie. So apples and oranges, do you know what I mean? In terms of what type of Bruno you want there. I actually think maybe Ollie's attackers were probably better than what we have now.
I can agree with that. Yeah,
I think Green. I hate using Redacted's name, but like Greenwood. I think Greenwood is probably better than Mbeumo and Ahmad on that side. I think just naturally from a talent point of view. That's my Bluetooth speaker going off there. I think Cavani currently is better than the version of Cavani we had. Is better than Sesko, and Rashford, is better. I think even now he's better than Cunha. Never mind back then. I think Joe Rashford is better than Cunha as well. So that's not to say that the current attackers we have now aren't good. I'm saying just the attackers and the level of production they had under Ollie were good. But like, can Ollie get numbers out of Cunha? Can he get numbers out of Mbeumo? Can he get numbers out of even Amad Diallo even? Be interesting to see, because the one thing that we did have under him, that he gave our attackers freedom up front to kind of do what they want and express themselves. So like from that point of view, I'd be interested to see kind of how our attackers do. But I think look, for me with Ollie, I think the biggest thing is, I think if he comes in for the period of 6 months, comes in, stabilizes the team. First of all, go back to 4 at the back. Go back to 4 at the back. Let the players enjoy themselves, express themselves, and just go back playing attacking football. I know we probably won't see the exact way we played in his first interim spell, but I'd really like us to see go back and let the players attack, express themselves. Look, maybe in some games we're going to concede goals as well, Julio. I don't care about that as long as it's entertaining. Like, I think what we really need to go back to as a football club, I'm not saying the old cliched Man United way, but what I'm saying is, I think the thing that I think should be non-negotiable when you come in as a Man United manager, and me and Reese talked about this on a show like 2 years ago, I think what's non-negotiable is you have to come in and you have to entertain. Like, whoever the manager is, the squad is, you have to entertain. Because that's what Man United are built on. We're built on playing with wingers. We're built on playing with pace, power, and determination. I think we've lost a lot of that in the last 10 years in general. I think there's been times when Van Gaal has been here. Van Gaal's here, Mourinho was here. There was times where the football got difficult to watch. And look, there's times where we got good results as well. But I really feel like this next 6 months, I think, let the players express themselves, let the players play to their best of their potential, and then look, at the start of the season, our expectations would have been European football, potentially Champions League. When I was on with Phil and Lee at the start of the season, I said 5th place. And I think that'll get us Champions League, depending on coefficients. But I think, when you look at the context of the league now, Champions League has to be the aim. And he's done it twice as manager before. So I would have that expectation with this squad that he can achieve it, considering the quality of the league as well. But I think the club is in a difficult spot, because I think the vibe around the fan base is, I think it's quite toxic. It's always been toxic, but I think this season, and I look at some of the results, it's been really low, especially Grimsby and losing, was it 3-1 at Brentford, and I think just look for me right now. I just want to see us play good football, get results, and hopefully along the way, we just enjoy it. Because I think as a fan, I haven't felt like I've enjoyed watching United play consistently over time. I think that's kind of where I'm at. I think look, I've other problems that I have with the board and other things, but I think right now, I think in the short term, I'm looking at getting Champions League next kind of, I suppose, five or so months, and looking at us playing better football. And then
I think
when the
I
new
think
manager
our
comes in,
expectations should be weighed carefully because I think his interim run was incredible. I don't want to compare what we do in an interim run to what he did in his permanent job because managers act differently when they're the full-term manager compared to in an interim. And I think we mustn't forget as well, after that interim spell ended and he got the job permanently, we had a poor run to the end of the season. That could still happen, but the results are more spread out. And I think we should tone our expectations a bit carefully. I'm not expecting Ollie to come in and we see like a 13 game win streak or whatever the exact win streak was, because I think, like you said, there are certain aspects of the team that were better then than we do now. I think the first thing for starters is the fact that one of our better forwards is not at the club at the minute. He's on AFCON duty, and then so is his backup for that right wing spot. So I think that I know obviously AFCON isn't forever and he'll be back before we know it, but I just think that
I hope
as
Ivory Coast get knocked out tonight now. I'm sorry, Ahmad, but
just have those fuckers come home immediately. We're making big boss calls.
yeah, do what Fergie used to do years ago and tell players to be injured during international duty. And by the way, I sent this on to you yesterday. That this was our best front three. Well, in my opinion, if it was Ollie, I sent this on to you yesterday. I don't know what you think.
I don't know how I feel. I think what I love about our forward options is the fluidity we can have with them. The likes of Cunha and Burmo, Sesko and Zirkzee can all play down the middle. I don't like seeing a right winger / inside forward playing up front, and then you got Ahmad who can come inside the same way, or Cunha who is more of a 10 as opposed to a winger. Do you know, it feels quite narrow and a bit disjointed. I feel like there's got to be some kind of balance, but then like there is no obvious left winger there, and I think it's, I don't know. I just, there's so many, I think, different ways we could go about it, and I think it comes down to a game by game basis. But like I said, I've always said to you, Keane, I'd never take Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back unless he had elite coaches around him. And I know obviously McKenna is just one guy, and I'm not going to put everything on that one guy not being there, meaning it's ruining the formula. But I'm toning my expectations down for it all because obviously.
You tone your expectations down, right? But I know you. If we beat City next weekend, he's manager, you're getting giddy as fuck.
Stop this at once. Stop this. Okay.
I'm going to come to this comment here because
I am a serious island of coolness. I will not give in to the vibes again.
You're not me. You're not me. I'll get giddy if we win a couple of games. I'd be like,
you're getting giddy before he even got the job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm even wearing the 99 jersey and everything today. Who do we recall? Who do we sell? Of all these, well, this is a simple option.
I don't think we recall anyone, and I think in the summer we sell all of them because I think
we sell all of them too. Here's my honest answer though. I think we sell all these, right? But if I my way, he goes, Onana goes, Sancho goes, Højlund goes. I'd bring Rashford back, but that's just my personal opinion before anyone.
Do you know something? If you could guarantee to me that Ollie would get something out of Marcus Rashford, I would bring Rashford back now for 6 months in the lead up to the World Cup. You might get as good a Rashford as anyone, and it might be a good business opportunity to make some more money in the summer because it doesn't look like Barcelona are going to go for him permanently either.
Yeah, because they're fucked. Like they're looking at
I only
they're
see him coming back as like a business venture, but I don't see that happening either.
like look, I'd bring him back because like look, I think he's better than our current number 10. And like before anyone shoots me, look at both, compare both their numbers this season, and but yeah, like look, why would you bring him back? Yeah, he's not going to come back because he's going for La Liga and Champions League.
Absolutely, there's no element of realism in what I've said at all. I'm just floating the only scenario that probably I would accept in this. I personally just leave him alone.
Yeah, and even on, I need to get the question again. If I think I'm after diving way too deep into the comments. I'm guessing this is for the summer, not now, because I don't think we'd recall any of them now. And also, Sancho is out of contract in the summer as well, so there's no even recall now. He's out of contract in the summer as well. So when you look at it that way, and I just another thing, I would never recall Rasmus Højlund, no matter how bad it gets. And that's just again personal opinion and all that crack. But yeah, I agree, Reese. There'd be no point in him coming back now anyway, because he's gonna win. He's probably going to win La Liga. He has a chance to win the Champions League, and you never know, they might win one of the cups or something as well. So yeah, look, I don't see him coming back, but look, fair play to him. I want him to win a trophy because the amount of people that said like he wouldn't amount to anything, that he'd be playing with Luton Town and all this crack. Well, he's playing with Barcelona. He's playing another team that plays in orange, and it's not a team with Joe Chipper as one of their stands at Domino's. So yeah, people can suck on that one. And yeah, they're getting us a Cancelo on loan. Reese, is a 4 million loan fee or something. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, like look, I think kind of circling back to Ollie, because we kind of went off on a tangent there. But look, it's first show in about 5 months on this channel, so forgive me. And also, lads, there's a load of old faces in here that used to be in the comments years ago. So this cool. Shane, Reese, Trevor, all the Ricky, all the old heads in here, and Sean as well. So good to see everyone in here. Yeah, they're a bunch of corrupt bastards, Reese. But obviously, if Ollie comes in, or if it's Michael Carrick or Rude or whoever it is, I think we're pretty much aligned that it should be for a 6-month deal. Whoever the club legend, because look, let's be honest, it's going to be a club legend that's going to come in to, I suppose, steady the ship and right the wrongs and all that crack. But looking ahead to 6 months' time, if I'm going to put you on the spot, 3 managers, no particular order. If you had a choice, give me 3 who you'd like to come in. And people in the comments as well. I know Shane said he had no standout, but even if you have 3 on your mind, who would you bring in?
It's very difficult because I tweeted 8 possible managers yesterday on.
Yeah, I know, I've seen that. But now I'm putting you on the spot to label 3.
Because I put it down to 2 tiers. There's, I mean, what I said on my channel today that I think that it has to be someone. I think we need to minimize the risk, and I think it has to be someone who's been there and done it. It has to be an elite winner. Every manager we seem to hire in the past 10 years is whatever the previous manager didn't have, and I think we need to forget that and just go straight back to winning. And I think one thing I really hate is in the fan base, there seems to be this arrogance towards certain managers because their style or their character isn't right for Man United in some way. Because they don't play attacking football, or they're too aggressive as a manager for whatever reason, or they're not that legacy builder who's going to be here for 10 years playing the youth. But a lot of managerial cycles nowadays are 2 to 3 years anyway, and like I said, I think it'll be very telling, depending on what kind of manager Ineos go for, that it will be very telling how long they want to prolong the winning. Even though that might not be intentional, but they still might go for a youngish manager. I mean, for my 8, I had my tier 1, which was Ancelotti, Conte, Enrique, and Tuchel. And then my second tier was Nagelsmann, Emery, And then I had McKenna on there and Pochettino.
Yeah, fuck,
Um,
you've gone for a real fucking variety there.
yeah, I think the last two especially are very much a case of they would play the football that the fans would like. Um, and then the
What a
first,
name, by the what a name, by the way. Spicy chicken wings. What the fuck? What a name, by the way. Sorry, I just seen it in the chat and I had to put it up. Sorry, go on, continue.
um, I think if I had to pick three, it would have to be from the first tier. And I'm only, I'd definitely go for Ancelotti if I can in the summer. I think it's difficult because Ancelotti's league title record is not as good as maybe it should be for someone of his
His
status.
European pedigree is always outstanding.
Yeah, but I don't know how sustainable he is for league campaigns. You know, we saw what he did with Chelsea. I really liked what he did there with the aging team. Um, I mean, I'd have to think about it, but it would have to be three out of Conte, Tuchel, Enrique, and Ancelotti. I think Tuchel, I think, is also another excellent elite manager. And what I love about him is the fact that at three different clubs, he played three different styles of football. Played attacking high press at Dortmund, formed that into more of a possession-based game at PSG. You know, Chelsea,
Yeah.
we saw how defensively solid they were. Um, Enrique, obviously, I don't think we'll go for Enrique. I think we'd lose. I think Pep would leave this summer, and we'd lose out on Enrique to Man City. Um, because especially after the news today about apparently Enrique rejecting a contract. Conte for me is one that gets scoffed at a lot because obviously the fact that it can go into turmoil very quickly, but he has been there before where he's gone into a team and won leagues, and the league is your bread and butter, and especially his Juve side. He went into a sleeping giant like Juve and laid a foundation for 10 years of domination for whoever came in after him. You know, I think it has to be an elite manager who. It's why I won't pick Nagelsmann ahead those because as much as I love Julian Nagelsmann, I think you get a better version of Nagelsmann if that ceiling of the league title has already been broken by someone else. Otherwise, I feel like Nagelsmann's got 5 years and potentially there's a ceiling there.
Like an
Um,
Arteta type.
Kind of, but I feel like that does a discredit to Nagelsmann because I think he's a very good coach.
Mm.
But I think it has to
When
be
you said
someone
a
elite
seeding
who
with
can
league
go
title, I
in.
was like, that's
It has
yeah.
to be someone who goes in and pretty much on his own rip everything up himself, have his bollocks out like that, and just be like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm about. Everyone knows what I'm about. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think if I had to pick three, I would probably say it's very hard. Um, I'll put Conte out of the picture. I'll make it easy. I'll put Conte out of it just because I think that the board would not want someone as explosive as him. That's not to say the others aren't explosive or want power, but I think they would deem Conte as a bit too radical. So probably Ancelotti, Tuchel, and Enrique. Now, particularly the ones who are going to be at the World Cup, I think is definitely achievable. It's just whether Ineos are willing to succumb to a certain amount of power in the
Yeah.
in terms of transfers because we fumbled Tuchel before. From my understanding, he didn't like the setup, and it was the power with transfers.
Then Reese
We
says
won.
Marv, Kevin, or Shovel Man are his picks. Home Alone one there.
Yeah.
I think my three. See, I'll go in particular order for this because I'm a bit paranoid with it. Tuchel's my third, only depending on how he does in the World Cup with England. If he does poorly and we pre-announce him, that English media will be on top of him, like a hop on it. So Tuchel's 3. He was my first choice when Ten Hag got the sack. Second, I'm trying to think Premier League based. I'm trying to think of what I want. If Tuchel does well, he's number 2, but he's not. So I can't really judge until England play in the World Cup. 2, I'm going to go Pochettino. Because I look at Ineos's model and I look at how he done at Spurs.
I think he'd be perfect in their model.
He was turning it around at Chelsea before he got sacked. I know, like Sean will say, like, he had the injuries and they did pop up, but I really rate what he done at Spurs, and I still feel like that Man United job. There's something about, I think if he got the Man United job, he'd go up a level. I feel like he would go up a level, and I like the football he played at Spurs. I'm a really, really big fan of it. Again, look, it's not a World Cup manager. There's 2 World Cup managers I'm looking at there. Then the first one's the manager is current.
On Pochettino, actually, one thing I do want to say, I've been watching a lot of his PSG side when he first went in there, just to see what they were like a little bit, and especially the game against Bayern Munich, against Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich. I really liked what I saw from that. I think Pochettino is good, but there's a ceiling, and if you gave Pochettino 2.5, 3 years, I think he leaves us in a good place, and I think he would play good football. But like I said,
that's what I'm thinking.
There's a ceiling there, and
but here's the thing, though, Julio. Where are we as a football club? I think that's where I'm thinking, though. Where are we as a football club? I think there's
I want us to win. If we get it right, if Ineos decide, actually, you know what, we're serious, we can get it right, we're going to be a problem. We can win quite quickly.
Potentially, but again, I think for me, I'm just thinking about the football. But he has won as well.
I think Pochettino would work with a lot of what's there already, and I think he can. I think he's got a lot. I think he's got a lot of the tools that Ineos want, and I was quite surprised that we didn't get him when we sacked Ten Hag, to be fair.
Yeah, Trevor's asking, when did I get out of prison? I was never in prison, so I don't want that rumor going around. Yeah, look, I think Poch is there for me in number 2. My number 1, though, is Unai Emery. I look at just his CV of winning trophies everywhere, more or less everywhere he goes. I know Villa.
He's a bloody good coach as well. He's a bloody good coach.
He took Villa from relegation to Champions League, and then he's probably going to do it again this year. And also, I feel like he deserves a crack at a big club now. I know Arsenal are a big club, but I think Arsenal didn't give him the backing that he should have got. Like, he got into a European final, and he was only 6-7 points off the top 4, and he got the sack. Like, if he got the billion that Arteta got, I reckon Arsenal would have won the league by now. Genuinely.
I don't know about the league, but definitely would have won trophies.
I think they wouldn't have bottled 22-23 if they had Emery as manager, I don't think.
Oh, I don't know about that. Emery, if you look back at Emery's history, there's a lot of races he's been in clubs in Spain, for example, where he's missed out on like top 4 races and that.
But he's never given the artillery that Arteta has been given.
No, absolutely not. I do say people like that.
You give Emery, Julio. If you give
Emery's defense was terrible compared to what Arteta has now.
Exactly. Not to mention he had Adrian Aubameyang. He had Lacazette, who again was coming towards the end of his time. He had a younger Saka. He had
David Luiz. Still had Aubameyang and Lacazette balling.
He did, and this is what I mean. He had David Luiz at the back. He had Socrates at the back. He had all these players. Now, you give him Saliba, you give him Gabriel, you give him all them players that Arsenal had, he would have won the title. By now, if you look at the money that Arteta spent, you give him the same squad, the same money, they would have won the league. Especially even last year when you look how bad the league was and Liverpool pissed the league. I genuinely think if he was manager, he would have won the league by now. And I just look at his overall, the way he's built clubs and the way he's built teams, and like his teams are organised, but they also fight, Joe, with pace and power, and they break teams down. And he's not. I don't think as well. He's not like just a manager who can not be adaptable to one style. Sometimes he can play a 4, sometimes he can play a 3. Joe, he can lock up in a game, but then also he can attack a team. I think that's what I like about him, and I think that's where I think games at Old Trafford, I think he can make he'd make Old Trafford a fortress. I just really feel like he deserves, I think, a shot at a big club. Arsenal are a big club, but they weren't acting like one. Are United acting like one now? Debatable. But I think, for me, Unai Emery is my number one. I think Tuchel 12 months ago would have been my number one, but I'm kind of seeing what he's doing in England. I want to see if he can win the World Cup with England, and he does it in style, in a hot climate. Maybe my opinion changes in 6 months. Maybe my opinion changes. But I think them 3 managers all bring something different to the table. And I feel like either one of them 3 for me would do a good job, whichever one of the 3 come in. Or look, if Ollie does well, wins the FA Cup and gets 3rd or 4th,
No, we're not doing
Ollie's
this.
at the wheel,
We're not doing
2.0.
No, we're not.
Joe.
It has to be interim only, crystal clear. I will be crystal clear on this as well. Absolutely no. I can't, for Ollie's sake, I won't let him get the hate again that he did. Not having this.
Yeah.
I think the problem we've got with all those managers is, do we have the pull? As Manchester United, we should have the pull, but I worry about the board, genuinely. Because the board might not want anyone difficult. And it's like, well, if you don't want anyone difficult, you don't want anyone good. If you don't want anyone good, you're not serious then.
Yeah.
So what are we really doing here? You want to win the league in 2028? You hire the guys who could do it. If you can't hire the guys who could do it, then all of your jobs should be put into question.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, but just picture this though.
No.
If he wins the FA Cup.
No.
If he gets top 4 convincingly, does your opinion change?
Say that again.
Julio's in protest. Well, let's say he gets top 4 convincingly. Wins the
I want
FA
to point
Cup.
something out. He gets top 4 and he wins the FA Cup. Roberto Di Matteo finished 6th, won 2 trophies, and he was binned 3 months into the next season. Interim only. That's all I'm gonna. No, I couldn't. As much as I praised Ollie for his time, and the standard he was held to, it's so annoying seeing Ten Hag and Amorim not held to the same standard, because then they might have left even sooner, right? But
come on, Trevor. I know it's not going to happen because we're like 18 points behind first.
I mean, if Ollie somehow gets a title run out of this, interesting. But no, that's it. At least if he gets the FA Cup, fair play to him.
If he won, put it this way, lads. I get it, right? The FA Cup, right? Fair enough. But I'm just reading. Reece knows I love him, and he's a good guy, right?
Reece hates him. Trevor, I love beyond belief.
Yeah, I know. Me and Reece had plenty of arguments back in the day on this about Ollie. But if he won the league, which he won't because we're 18 points behind, and that's not going to happen. But if there was a miracle and he done it, you could not give him the job. Come on,
I'm surprised
lads,
you haven't said mountains are there to be climbed after saying we're 18 points behind.
Hey,
because let's not forget, Arsenal are going to bottle the league again this year. What if we're ready to take over?
Arsenal are going to bottle the league, but Manchester City are going to do City things, and they're going to win the league.
Exactly.
But it would have to take a monumental fuck up from Arsenal, Villa, and City for United to win the league.
See, my biggest worry is the board give Ollie the job just on the basis of the fact they can't get anyone they want, so they keep him in another year as a stopgap.
Yeah, well, no, I don't see that happening. I think we get our man because we 6 months.
There's a lot about the board than it does about us, which makes us look terrible.
Oh yeah, I think we'll get the we get our manager in. We've 6 months to do it. Like, if the board couldn't sort that out in 6 months, they may as well get sacked. Never mind that else.
The issue is, though, do you think it plays? The World Cup is obviously this summer. Now, we hired Louis after the World Cup, and we didn't have a short preseason, to be fair, but there is a chance that preseason might be ruined because of the World Cup, and our new manager is at the World Cup. Do you think that poses a problem for the recruitment, not just of the players, but actually of the manager themselves?
Potentially. I think the thing about it is, if they're going to sort out managers that we're going to hire from the World Cup, it'll have to be a case of they'll probably have to have it done within the next couple of months. So then recruitment meetings can still happen, even though, like, you know, and the board and the new manager can be in communication. Like, if we're hiring a World Cup manager, or even a manager from another club, let's say, and we, like, again, their contract will be up in June or whatever. I think the next transfer window is going to be tough anyway, because I feel like, you know, because they're going to assess the current squad, and I think that they'd get a couple.
Where does the time come in for that, though? Where does the time actually come in for that? Because by the time a manager's announced and hired and whatever, like,
they'll assess them in pre-season.
The season ends. Like, the season will end, and we'll have 2 weeks of friendlies, and then the World Cup starts.
Yeah,
it's not.
But the thing is, as well, Julio, the players who are probably going to leave in the summer, right? I'll lay it out here for you now. The players who are probably going to be off our books in the summer.
I don't think that's the biggest issue.
No. Hear me out. Let me land. The players who are going to leave, and then how we're going to prepare for recruitment. Casemiro out of contract. He's gone. Sancho out of contract. He's gone. There's about 700 grand worth of wages a week gone there. So that means we're going to have to automatically buy a winger, probably, because we're going to hire a manager who needs wingers. So we're going to look for a winger, regardless of who's coming in. We're going to look for a new DM, which is probably going to be Baliba or some other DM out there.
Baliba, right? And if Casemiro's going, Ugate's not staying either. I'm sorry, I can't have that.
Probably 2 midfielders will come in, or we'll have a promotion view. Let's be honest, this is the way we do things now. We'll get a winger, we'll get 1, if not 2 midfielders. I'd imagine Xerxes going to leave. We're probably going to buy another striker /10 hybrid. Like, you're looking at that, and then also Rashford is going to leave, which is he's going to be, you know, so that's probably another winger that's going to come in. So, like, we're probably going to need 1 winger for either side, because it depends what Mbeumo's role is going to be, what Ahmad's role is going to be under his new manager. Like, I think like that there's going to be certain positions where it's probably going to be nailed on. We buy 1 or 2 players. I think like Maguire's probably going to go in the summer, so we're probably going to have to buy a centre back. We discussed this actually in the summer just gone. 6 months
Collins.
Ago. Yeah, he's balling. But anyway, like, we need defenders, we need midfielders, like, even goalkeeper. Like, we don't know how Lamin's going to get on between now and the end of the season. Like, you know, like, I think it's so uncertain what's going to happen. Even if we appointed a new manager now, it'd still be slightly uncertain because
we still need a wholesale amount of players.
Yeah, regardless of what happens. So I think the summer is going to be. There's going to be change of foot because there's so many players who are going to be out of contract, and there's going to be players who are going to have to naturally come in to replace them. So,
this is why I stress this a lot with squad building as well. You need a manager who can use what's there, because I think in terms of a rebuild, you need squad continuity. And I think this was something Wilcox has apparently talked to Amorim about, and then Amorim was like, "No, all the players need to go. I need new players." I think this conversation might have happened last week, actually. I think it was briefed today. But I always say you need squad continuity and evolution, not revolution. You know, especially if the board only want to sign 3 or 4 players a summer. You know, I think Reece is right. We do need 3 defenders and 4 midfielders. I think our fullbacks aren't good enough. I think our centre backs now, depending on.
Shaw will be gone as well in the summer. Yes, like and thinking about his Dorgu for a back 4. I'll be honest.
I think Dorgu's got what's needed I think he's got the minerals to be a good left back in a back four. But I think right now he's a backup at best. But I just think that,
I even
you
think a
know,
backup at best. I think technically, I don't know. I think we got hoodwinked on him. Look, I hate being negative on a player. I hate being. I hate being negative on a player, but I look at him. I look at his decision making. I look at. I don't think he like. I
yeah.
think he can get away with being a left wing back. I don't think in a back four.
I
Genuinely,
think
I don't think in the back four he'd be good enough.
I think one thing I've heard Klopp said in his interview for Liverpool, right? Klopp turned around in the interview and he didn't say we need to rebuild this entire. He said I could still win with some of the players that are here. So it won't take a lot of players for me to win here. I can still do it with, and I think we need a manager who can look at that and go, just give me players, and I'll win with what's there. I think there are some good players there. There are some
Oh
good
yeah,
players
there's a
there.
nucleus of good players there. Like there's obviously you have
I'm
Manu.
not doing
Yeah,
let's wait 3 years and wait for everyone to leave and then hope it clicks. None of these, oh, it took Arteta, Klopp, Fergie 5, 10, 15, 25 years, whatever, to get
how
it
long did
right.
it take Arteta to win? He won one cup with
To
Emery's
get it
team.
right, not even win. The guy hasn't even won yet. It's just getting it right at this point. But it's like, look, Arteta's got them challenging and bottling every year. You know, at least he's put them in a position where they can bottle something. No one has seen that since Wenger, like early 2010s Wenger.
This is karma for what I just said earlier. Hope
Mm.
Ahmad comes home early and he just scored for Ivory Coast. There you go. There's the first clip of the first 5 months there. But yeah, no. Look, I think it's a situation where I think multiple conversations are going to be had over the next 6 months on who's coming in, how we
It's the
retool the
board's
squad.
it's the board's job to know what to do next. It was their job to know that Amrin was going to come in and need 11 new players for his system to work. It was their job to know that, and they still got it wrong. So
Do you know? Do
that's
you know
my
what? Do you know
biggest
what
worry
though?
now.
Do you know what though? Do you know who told him that? The man they sacked.
Well, Ashworth, yeah,
Mm.
it
The
was
man they sacked.
Ashworth literally turned around and said, "It ain't gonna work. Amrin's not gonna work." You know, and I remember doing videos at the time thinking, you know what, I think given the way some players work in their positions and whatnot, and you know how they operate in half spaces and whatnot, maybe Amrin will show some kind of tactical flexibility to work with some of the players that we had at the club, right? I'm just an accounting graduate at home, right? I'm not in these boardroom things, so of course maybe I was going to get it wrong, right? The geezers who were paid to know this, they still got it wrong. And then when I turned around and said, actually, looking at it, it's stupid hiring a manager who can't work with what's there. So we're just going to finish 15th this season and look terrible for a year. It's not good enough. It's just what was the point of Ruben Amorim if we're going to waste time like that? And I think
Yeah.
as a result, right, they cannot afford. The summer's going to come around just like that. Before you know it, the summer's going to be here, and they better have done their due diligence, done their interviews, not fumbled the bag with someone good, hopefully, and they realize that if they're going to do this, they need someone who can win, someone elite, minimize the risk.
Yeah. Look, man, there's going to be so many conversations I think that need to be had. Board wise, I think even amongst fans, there's going to be so much to talk about in the next 6 months. It's going to be unbelievable. But it's going to be a wild couple of days. We have Burnley tomorrow in the Premier League. Darren Fletcher, we haven't even touched on that because that's a whole other conversation. But Darren Fletcher is going to get a game. Do we see one of his sons get brought on? That'd be wild. We'll see what happens there. Bruno Mount back tomorrow as well. So hopefully we can get 3 points to start that charge towards the Champions League place this season, whether that's through 5th or 4th. Who the fuck knows? But I do appreciate everyone jumping in on such a fucking short notice. I scheduled this live stream literally about an hour before I was about to jump on. And then I literally made the stream 10 minutes before we were about to go live, and seeing the interaction in the comments is absolutely sensational, guys. So, look, we will try to get as many videos out in the next few weeks because it's going to be a very interesting time to be a Man United fan. And yeah, like, look, the fact there's interests and comments from you guys, it makes it rewarding for myself to jump on and interact with you. And then also as well, shout out to Julio for dressing up like Marv from Home Alone. He really made the occasion very good here, because it looks like, according to some people, Ollie's going to be stealing a living for 6 months. Even though, lads, he has offered to work for free, according to the media. But I doubt that. I'd say he's going to be getting paid, to be honest. I'd say they'll give him a wage. Hardly, is Jim Ratcliffe that bad? He won't pay Ollie? I don't know, lads. But on that note, we will wrap it up there. Do you like the video? Do share. We will be live at some point. If and when Ollie gets announced this week, I'll be the giddiest motherfucker throughout the whole of Ireland, I'd say, about this news. And also as well, up the Rebels. Who won the All-Ireland last year, Trevor? Are you Dara Cashman in disguise? Who won the All-Ireland last year? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. And Reese, yeah. Well, I'm going to get you on here soon as well. So yeah, you're going to return the favour. I'll get on the steel chair for the Royal Rumble, and you can.
I don't know if I want to do a show with Reese if Ollie gets appointed, because I feel like Reese is just going to complain about Ollie every week.
I think that's why me and him are going to get back on, because that's all we used to go back and forth on, was about Ollie. I'll get Jamie McCoy back on as well, and just be two boys firing abuse at me for an hour.
Jesus,
it'll be great.
Christ. I could never allow that.
I'm a battering ram for abuse. It's okay. But do like the video, guys. Do share. And look, we'll be live later this week when hopefully we get the good news that we've a new interim manager. Well, until then, guys, we will see you later.